that says we're live streaming here on my Zoom. It says we're recording and we're live. And I see now there is an icon on YouTube, and here we are. We are live on YouTube. Just testing out our streaming system here. All right, if anybody's joining us, we are expecting a wonderful guest momentarily. But for now, we're just testing out all of our junk, all of our buttons and switches.
Kind of dusting off the old equipment for the new year. I thought it'd be interesting just to give it a go and see what we could get working without too much effort.
All right. It just popped up on Facebook as well.
Excellent.
So we are there. So we are live in both places. Man, well, while we wait, did you make anything over the break? I heard you were doing some Lego stuff.
Did I make anything? The main thing I did over the break, so I was trying to stay offline. This is the first time in forever I've had any kind of significant break. So I was trying to just like not do anything, not set goals. Usually I come up with a giant list of things I want to do, don't get them done and get frustrated. So I thought, let's not do that. Let's just be chill and see what happens. Mostly I played with my kids, and in terms of maker type stuff, the main thing I was focused on was hacking on this computer right here, this old Amiga. It's 1985 Amiga 1000, which I inherited from my wife's grandfather, like brand new in box, all the manuals, all the programming books and things like that. And I basically set up a development environment and learned how to program for the Amiga was the main thing I got done. I know you had a cool project, if we've got time to share that. And
yeah, I don't have it here to show you. It's downstairs, but I made a lamp, just a light sculpture, I guess. It's kind of like a lamp. But I made, out of CNC milled cherry and one of those LED strips that are like solid LEDs, and it just glows so beautiful. I love it. Absolutely love it.
But it's so cool looking. It's not just a lamp like, a little oval shape with a shade on it. It's like a very cool lamp.
It's more like a sculpture, and it's very, if you see it in person, it's very the texture really plays so much of a role in it because it's solid cherry wood, so you just have that like grainy, earthy feel to it. I don't know, I really like it. I really
looks like our guest is joining, so I'll give him a second to
well, let me give some shout outs to the people joining us on stream while Kevin gets ready here and gets his camera set up. Matthew Raynowski, thank you for joining us on Facebook. Looks like you just got a 3D printer for Christmas. That's awesome. Let us know what kind of 3D printer you got. I will be in the comments. Isaiah Griego and Brian Mayer, I'll be there as well. I'll be in the comments to talk to you all. I'm going to disappear and let David and Kevin take it from here once Kevin shows up.
I'm here now. I'm trying to get my video all configured and sound and everything. Hello.
No problem.
That's okay. We figured out how to kill time pretty well.
Well, thanks for having me. Give me a second while I figure how to set all my inputs and everything.
We're old pros here. So yeah, you just get your stuff set up.
Stuff that I can show off while you're getting ready, Kevin. So
cool.
I guess just to give a background on what we're doing. At the end of last year, Kevin sent me the product that we're going to be discussing today, and it's like right at the end of the year when it arrives, and I'm like, I need to get a blog post about this or something ASAP because it's tied to a Kickstarter campaign. And that Kickstarter campaign ends in less than 24 hours. And so I thought, what if we just did a quick live stream? That would be fun and fast and timely. And so we kind of tossed the mechanics of that together today because we hadn't done anything like this in a bit, and seems to all be working. So that's pretty cool. Just to start from the top, I guess, my name is David, sometimes known online as iShotJR. I'm the community editor at Make, and we're going to be talking to Kevin Bates, who is the creator of ArduBoy, I am a longtime ArduBoy fan myself. This is my original ArduBoy, and it's got, oh, you can't see it on the back. It's not clear. That was a good reveal. Anyway, if you could see through this, you would see that there's an upgrade in here. I've got the FX upgrade, so I can do more than the original platform.
The mod chip.
Yeah, I got the mod chip on there, so I can dynamically load new games and things like that, and have a bunch more flash and things. Anyway, Kevin can explain this once. Yay! There we go.
Am I here?
You're here. I see you. We see you. Everything's good.
Hey, okay, cool. I got figured out technology.
Yeah. It's the first day back. You know, it's no problem.
Well, that's what I figured. You're starting into it easy here.
Yeah. It's you know, we advertised it as like a beta test. It's just completely chill, and I was only moments ago that I really believed any of this stuff was actually going to work, honestly. So it seems to be working. It seems to be good. And so, yeah. So, Kevin, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself if you're ready? If not, I can keep stalling for time.
Before you do,
Okay.
I'm
hey,
gonna
Caleb.
step out. I'm
Okay.
gonna leave, exit. It was nice meeting you, Kevin. I'll be in the comments for all you people watching. I'll be relaying questions back and forth to David and Kevin. So if you have questions, I'll be there. Otherwise, I'm going to disappear.
Thanks so much for your help, Caleb. I really appreciate it. Kevin, about you.
Yeah. The introduction. So I am Kevin Bates, creator of the ArduBoy, that little video game system. I got one across the desk over there I can grab. Yep, the ArduBoy, now ArduBoy FX. Yeah, I was just a normal maker or whatever. I was just like a person who liked making circuit boards and working with Arduino and everything else like that. I started out with a blank sketch and just kind of went from there. Eventually, one of my projects, the prototype of the ArduBoy, went viral, and yeah, I think the difference was that I was at a point in my life or career that I was ready to take it on, and so I took on investment, turned it into a business. And I've been doing it for 7-8 years now.
That's awesome. And you say you were just a maker, but were you a software developer, an electrical engineer, that kind of thing at all, or just like coming at this from something completely different?
A business person, I guess, a salesperson. Actually, at the time, I was a database analyst at a shipping logistics company. So I wrote software that was a little bit like the movie Office Space, except not from the banks. I was like saving big companies like fractions of a penny on their shipping invoices or whatever. And I got tired of telling everybody that's what my day job was. And so that's why I wanted to lean into the project side of it. What I would pull out my iPhone or something and be like, this is what I'm working on. But now instead I can be like, yeah, this is what I make. So yeah, that's awesome. Where it started.
I love it. I wish I often have a lot of props at hand that are relevant to the discussion. I do have a red stapler somewhere, but I didn't know that was going to come up. So I don't have my red stapler handy. I have a lot of other things handy though, because the ArduBoy really appealed to me because I love this form factor, or just the small handheld gaming in general. This is my current Game Boy. I still use this. It's heavily modded. I use it for music and stuff. Nice. But this is kind of obviously, I'm guessing perhaps the inspiration for this. And I've personally, these are all just, anytime there's a Kickstarter campaign or anything, hope it's okay to talk about the competition. Oh, nice. No,
it's fine. The competition is definitely one of the things that inspired me. And then this isn't actually a Game Boy. It's something, it's a Game Boy shell.
That's an advanced, but not an advanced. What's going on?
Yeah, it's something that I'm going to have to switch. I lost my audio.
I have the game Shell, which is a sort of alternative thing, but I also have tons of these little things like the Pocket Sprite is a good one. This is a really powerful little ESP32. Again, hopefully it's okay to mention these guys.
No, go for it. No, you're saying all this stuff, and I'm trying to think I have a whole other shelf of collection. Yeah, I got one of those. I got one of those too.
The 32 Blit.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got Game Bueno?
Oh no, I don't have a game like the Maker Bueno or the Game Bueno. I've never get in on one of those yet.
We got Game Bueno Meta. Now we're getting Meta.
No, those are the. Do you have a play date?
I don't. I'm boycotting it because I tried to order one and their website crashed right when I was trying to order it, and my order didn't work, and now I'm like mad at them and don't want to get one. But I have all the parts to build my own. So that's the single one of these things I've managed to resist is the play date. I think there was like, oh, I had to choose. I was like, should I get the play date or should I get the analog pocket? And I was like, I'm going to use the analog pocket more. And so I went with that in the end.
It's an interesting that you bring up all those consoles, because that's like, I'm constantly being, well, inspired to ask, or how my mind is like, what's next, or what kind of development can I do and stuff like that. And so like the play date is actually the same. That's the same screen that's in here. So I've charged this a little bit. Let's see if it boots up.
So what is the name of this one?
So it's something I'm developing. Let's see if I can get it.
Oh, this is yours.
Yeah. So here, if I can grab my light over here.
I didn't understand we were getting like a worldwide exclusive here. Awesome.
Well, kind of, yeah. I've tweeted it out a couple pictures. Of course, it's a transflective display, and so that's what's difficult about it. But what this is it's a replacement PCB that you can put into a Game Boy Advance shell, and it's got a Raspberry Pi Pico in there, so the RP2040. But then it's also got a SD card and audio out, and then it's also got a SparkFun's micromod, their M.2 expansion port. Like I can barely kind of see it there. And so actually you can put any processor that you want in there. So you could use any of the SparkFun's micromods, or you could develop any of your own micromods there. So,
and what is in there right now?
It has on the it has a motherboard which has the RP2040. And then it has like a daughter board that goes on there that has all the expansion ports, like the microphone and SD card and stuff like that. So theoretically, you could actually do a motherboard and then do your own daughter board. So you don't even have to use the expansion that I did. You can break out completely your own thing. And that uses the like you take out the shield for where the the cartridge slot goes. Yeah. And so you can, do whatever you want in there. And then it's got two USB-C, so you can have the Raspberry Pi, or the Pico is connected to one of them, and then the other one is you can either loop back and do like a software, like a secondary one from the Pico if you want to, if you make it, or whatever. It's actually a breakout for the M.2 connector. So you put in the micromod, and so you put like an ESP32 micromod in here. That's kind of when I designed the pinouts, like I tried to like it theoretically should work for any of the micromods, but I looked at the pinout for the ESP32 and like made sure that one would for sure work in the most amount of use cases, and then work backwards from there. And so so this could theoretically have ESP32 like co-processor with the Raspberry Pi Pico, and it's able to do like basically like 40 frames per second. Like I'm trying to chase the full performance of the Playdate. They can hit 60 in some cases, I've read on their forums or whatever. But theoretically, so you're probably wondering what price would be. And so that's kind of the interesting thing, is because I'm not selling the case. I would just be selling the circuit board. So the screen's kind of the most expensive part. So the screen's like, you can buy them on AliExpress for like $15 or whatever.
It's that same sharp memory.
The shape, same sharp memory LCD, and they're very difficult to get. And so if you want to get the display on a module, it's usually around $50 to $60 or whatever. So I'm trying to price the whole console around that same price point, so that you can the same price point that you'd be getting the display, you can also get the theoretically, it's another $10 worth of electronics to be the buttons and the connectors and everything else like that. And then I don't have to worry about the battery either, because the battery you just source. It's all, and there's no case mod. The idea is there's no case mods either. So you buy the kit on like eBay or Amazon, and they have like it's like $30 or whatever to get, maybe a little bit less to get the shell, and then you buy my thing for like under like around $50-$60 or something like that. So under $100, you have your own like open source Playdate like clone kind of deal, at least the same screen. The idea that my thought in my mind is that Playdate may have created a format or a new the resolution is like, if you're going to develop a game for that resolution that's a monochrome for that screen, theoretically, then like if you can't get a play date or you're boycotting it or it's too expensive or you know you don't like the color yellow or whatever, then you can get this for cheaper and it's completely open source and you can do whatever. And theoretically, the game that you make for it, you could port back over, or in a perfect world, somebody would reverse engineer. Like, I'm not smart enough to do the software for it, the firmware, but theoretically it should be powerful enough to like run like the pulp games they have. That's like I'm pretty sure it'd be, people have even talked about reverse engineering that language for the ArduBoy. But anyways, so this is I'm a huge fan of it. It's a big inspiration. I guess the point of it is it's like a big ecosystem for everybody to kind of play around in. Playdate, I guess, isn't open source, but still with the original Game Boy, you asked about that too. And originally it didn't look like a Game Boy. I've told this story before, but originally I was in schematic view and I just had the OLED and then I had a direction pad. So I had up, down, left, right, okay, and cancel. And then I went into board view and then I knew it needed to be, I was trying to make it the size of a credit card. So I just was like moving the parts around. And then I was like, oh shoot, like this is a solved paradigm. People have done that before, and then it looked like a Game Boy to me. And so I was like, what the hell? Let's kind of lean into that. And I Googled all the trademarks and patents and
I mean, obviously I've got tons of this format, but the other kind of dominant format is what I would call sort of the Game Gear format, which is the screen in the middle and the buttons on the side. And when you started talking about this, I'm like, but wait a second, you have one like that as well, because this is you, right?
That's I get a percentage cut of that. That's not really me though. There's not my name or any company. It's great when you buy them. But so the story behind that is I used to make the Tetris microcard. The Tetris microcard was it's a purple one and it was the OLED. It was the same screen as the ArduBoy. And sorry, I'm going to adjust the monitor here a little bit. So I want to make you bigger. I got a teleprompter set up. And it's new to me, and I just realized I could maximize the window if I could figure out how to click on
all
it.
of this, everything you said to me so far has been scripted.
What? No. I got it. So you're like, one of the things I realized when I was doing a bunch of these interviews is that I hate it when you're like looking.
Yes.
I don't hate it, but it's like, it's better if you can look directly at the person. And so I looked on Amazon and they have like a little kit. And so I'm streaming to a phone, which is below a little like transflective piece of glass, and then I have the webcam stuck behind that, and I 3D printed a little mount for that this morning to like make it.
All looks great. Now I'm like nervous that I'm like, am I looking off over here?
Oh no, it's fine, man. I mean, I'll send you a link to the setup. Oh wait, hold on, I can do better than that. It's got a ring light. I totally forgot. I can come on with the ring light here. Okay, so now that I'm like fully lit from every different direction, the story of the micro arcade. So I used to make the micro card, which was, gosh, that's a long story. Do you know what? Are you familiar with that one, the micro card?
Yeah, I mean, so it was the single purpose ArduBoy, right? Like, so that people could maybe who weren't into making, but they were into retro games. They'd be like, this is cool, I'll just buy that. Yeah.
It was like for Tetris fans. Yeah, so actually that was at the very probably first day that Tetris or ArduBoy went viral. So the original video that went viral was my business card plays Tetris. And that got like 500,000. It was back like 8 years ago. And so getting 500,000 views in a day or two was like it's kind of a big deal. And so what was more important than that was that it got syndicated by like every blog on the planet. So it went viral. It was on like TechCrunch and Huffington Post, and it even was on like Perez Hilton's website. So it was a cultural reference point. And so I had thousands. This was one of the reasons why I started the company, because I had thousands of emails from people being like, oh, I want to get one of these things. And one of them was from the lawyers at Tetris. And they're like, hey, like we noticed the video that you've got. And they were cool about it. They were like, hey, we want to work together. So that kind of went on the back burner because I didn't even know if it was going to be a real company. And at the time I was kind of leaning more towards just like open sourcing it and doing my own thing. So it wasn't until after I went to China and I went and did the program in Hacks, where I did like a hardware accelerator, and I met Seed Studio, the factory.
Oh, cool.
So I launched the ArduBoy, and I guess I just talk about this now. I've never really did another exclusive. I've never really talked about this publicly, but Tetris was a little bit miffed that I didn't launch it with like originally it was supposed to be a Tetris product from the beginning. Like it was supposed to launch, but while I was in China, I A/B tested like these two formats, right? Yeah. So I went around the office and I just SLA printed just like completely blank. There's no electronics, just like little solid chunks of plastic of these two formats. Basically, they looked a little bit different, and I just handed them to people, and I didn't say anything or do anything. But then they would just like pick it and be like, "What is this?" Or they'd look at it. But if I handed them something that was like it was white and it was colorless and it was just a blank piece of white plastic, but it had the shape and the buttons. And this one, they instantly like lit up and were like, "Oh, it's a Game Boy. I know what this is," and they knew how to hold it. And then I would hand them this thing, and they were like, what is it? After I explained it, they're like, "Oh, okay, I get it." But there was about 30 seconds of confusion every time I like handed somebody this physical object that didn't have any graphics, didn't have any display, clear way of holding it or anything, no instructions. And so I reported that back, and Tetris they were adamant about there being this way because they wanted to have the vertical screen. And I totally agreed with the vertical screen, but they wanted me to launch this like dedicated vertical screen or get a square screen, which like I guess I could have spent more time and more money and find a different screen or whatever. But they wanted to launch this, but with like a vertical screen. And I was like, that's a fucking no-go, man. Like, so I launched this. I got an email from them and being like, "We want to, you're supposed to do it with us." And then so I was like, okay, we can still do it, but it has to be launched now. I don't have the purple one. It's over there somewhere, but in this format. And so that's why I did that one. So that's like the backstory of that. And then I made 5,000, 10,000. I'd have to check, like 5 or I think 10, 15, something like that of the Tetris ones. It wasn't massively successful. It was did pretty good, but actually I've sold about twice as many ArduBoys as I had, or maybe even, now it's even 3 times as many. Then that license got extended once, and then so I only had the license for 2 or 3 years, and then it ended. And I was kind of like, to be honest, I was kind of like happy to be done with it because I had to make like monthly reports, and the relationship just was took a lot of work. And then so I was done with it. But then one day I got an email from the licensing lady, and she's like, "Hey, this other company, Super Impulse, wants to talk to you." And that's who made that. So it's just a call out of the blue, if you can believe it.
So one of the things that was occurring to me earlier, we were talking about all these different devices and kind of the ecosystem. Well, it was when you're talking about Playdate, it occurred to me that again, I've kind of been in this community, not heavily, but I've been there, been along for the ride on a lot of this stuff, and I think the game Bueno was the first one I actually picked up, and there'd be the sort of Game Bueno forums and like the people that are on there that are into the Game Bueno, and then you see the same people popping up, say on the Pocket Sprite and stuff like that. It's like all the same faces and stuff like that. And then the same with yours. It's like it's totally like, "Hey, it's you. Hey, it's good to see you here," and stuff like that. And I just when you were talking about porting between the different platforms. Is that something that you've seen? Like, are you seeing the same titles that are? I mean, is it a sort of homebrew microcontroller based game system community, or is there just kind of like, are you mostly in like the ArduBoy community, or do you see it as like a larger thing?
That's a really good question, actually, because it's something I think about a lot. And I mean, if you ask the members of the community, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm on all these different forums at the same time." And I would think the one that I have the most like it's called cross-pollination, of course, is like what it's a common term, and it applies, I think, because the Poquito is one. It's like put together with like Lego little plugs or whatever. It's like I don't want to like mess it up. It's a Northern European country, like Sweden or Switzerland, or I think it's Sweden. Something.
Yeah.
But the Poquito is it's a little system. It's a kit. It comes as a kit, and you kind of like snap it together. And it's been around for a while. They've been real successful. I can't remember even what processor it has.
Is it the same resolution, the same display?
No, it's closer to the color Game Bueno. I think it's like a STM. It might be an STM processor. Yeah, it's closer to that. But it's cute because the way they did it is they got little snap connectors and it looks like little arms, and then the feet are like, anyways, it's cute. The Poketo, there's a lot of developers, and I don't want to say like they've jump shipped or whatever, but like a lot of developers are active on that community, and I like go over there sometimes, and I'm like, I don't want to say like jealous, but it's like like somebody said the other day, like they wanted to make a game for the ArduBoy, but they've already been, all of them have been made. There's like over 300 games. And so I was kind of like, you have to get a special kind of inspiration to make a new game for that. But that's why I'm trying to make a new system. And when I'm thinking about making a new system is making it as open as possible. And a deeper way of answering that question would be, I wish there was like a bigger, like formal community or something. Like I've always imagined like there being a kind of like a, they have the open source hardware convention, but like specifically for like game consoles, like open source. Awesome. And I've tweeted it out a few times and like tried to get people excited about it, or even messaged some of the creators sometimes and be like, hey, we should like, I mean, formally it would be great if we could even get together and do like an actual, like a foundation, like, actual, like a company that, like I've envisioned it where the company gets together and we just make like like agree on like a format or whatever. So like the same, you can make the games and they can be compatible. There's like a big picture. But theoretically this device is kind of like a leap in that direction, because I want to make it in a way that theoretically you can put in a different display module, and you can put in a different chip. So the hope would be is you could, like, this is an example of a system that you could like put in a chip that's already like the Game Bueno chip or the Poketo chip or whatever, ESP32, and then the Raspberry Pi just interpolates all the buttons, and you can put in a different display module, and so you could make this case work for a dozen different platforms.
I just had a good comment. The 3D printing professor said like Pico 8. Pico 8 is kind of a standard.
Pico 8 is great too. Yeah.
The other thing I was thinking of as you're describing this is I remember sort of the emergence of, I want to say it was called like ARG or something. There was like this
team ARG, right?
Yeah. This collective of like the super group of like of game makers, and I haven't checked in on that scene in a while.
Yeah. That's Yuri. That's that's a funny story actually. So Team ARG is led or was led. They're no longer. They've gone on to, the team is disbanded and they're doing their own thing. But that was led by a guy named Yuri in Belgium guy. And when I did the Kickstarter, and I featured a few like games that were already from the community, open source games. So,
and that was the Kickstarter,
I wasn't even the
original, right? We're talking
about. The Kickstarter for that one. I wasn't even the first person to make like a little Arduino game system or anything. There was one that was most popular, was the by Nootropics designed, the Hack Vision.
I have that, but you plug that into a TV.
You plug that into a TV, exactly. And so
style.
So that was made before ArduBoy. And so I mean, I'd be honest, I appropriated, like I didn't do a good job of like giving attribution when I did the Kickstarter, because I was so busy just like slamming, I was just copy pasting everything. And so it didn't occur to me when I did it, and it's not a good excuse, but when I did it, that I was copy pasting from somebody else's their content, not my content, without, saying where I got it from. They emailed me and I was like, oh shit, I fixed it or whatever. But out of that conversation was like, hey, I've made a few of these games. I want to make them for the ArduBoy too. And so we made like a deal where I basically, I contracted his team to make, is it like 5 games or 10 games or something like that in exchange. So he actually had shares in the company. And so that worked out really well. and I ended up going and visiting him and staying with him in Belgium and hanging out and drinking beers. And yeah, so he ended up making like 15 games or whatever, in addition to the Ardu Venture. The special edition was made by him and the team. And then basically after he did like the catalog of like a dozen games or whatever, he was like, all right, I've got a new job and a new, I like I've always wanted to do something like this, and I did it. And
yeah, their games were like next level. Like other people, like I made Space Invaders, and they're like, I made an entire RPG with like all this like they were like maximizing the limits of kind of what you could do on the platform, is what it felt like. At least like their graphics, their music, everything was just like, oh my god, they were so awesome.
Now it's a team called Press Play on Tape. Is the team I would say to check out now. They're most commonly doing like, well, they started out doing like a lot of clones of the Game & Watch titles.
Oh my god!
But now they're working on they're doing a game that is using the FX chip, so using the expanded memory. Yeah. What is that one?
This is Game & Watch Squish, and I didn't even.
I don't think they've done Squish. They've got the turtle jumper, and they've got like I think Donkey Kong ones, and they've got the juggling one. Maybe I think.
What is that?
Juggling one.
Oh yeah, Ball. That's the original.
Ball. I think that they've done Ball. So anyway, so so you can go check them out on the website. So yeah, there's a few Game & Watch titles, or like there are interpretation of inspired by Game & Watch titles, but yeah, they're working on a Prince of Persia right now, actually, and they're using the expanded memory to put in. I guess he says he's gonna be able to put in all the levels. He had to cut out a few of the like items or a few of like the traps because they're a little short on code space. But yes, they're working on that. We don't have the license to that title, so when he releases it, it's going to be called something that isn't trademarked. So
another person that I respect, that I've seen making a lot of games, I actually had him on a different live stream a while back, is Crate.
Jonathan, sure.
And he seems to be, we're talking about the different community and stuff like that, and he just makes it for
everything.
For like
dude,
20 different systems. Like probably
he's made Circuit Dude for like I think 20 different platforms now or something goofy like that. He made it for Palm OS. And I asked him about that. I saw his tweet. I was like, I'm making it for Palm OS. And I'm like, why? I private messaged him. I was like, why, dude? Like, why? Yeah. And he's like, it's a challenge. He's like, I just love doing that. No, he helped me out too. He came with me to the Oregon Retro Gaming Convention, Portland Retro Gaming Expo. Yeah, Portland Retro Gaming Expo, where they like, it's actually huge for people who have like collect pinball machines and stand-up arcades and old Ataris and stuff like that. And so we had a booth there, and I brought him with me to like sell merch and sell ArduBoys there. And so we hung out together, and we got to meet Ben Heck together. So that was a cool time. And that's what I mean about like community and like everybody knows everybody kind of thing.
Yeah. And I mean, I do understand his motive, because just before you got on, we were talking about what we did over the holidays, and I was saying I learned how to program for the Amiga. I got my development environment set up there, and that's kind of like, that's my approach to everything. I'm like, I get a Game Boy, I want to know how to write program for it. I get a Game Boy because I want to write code for it. Mm-hmm. I haven't done anything with the Pocket Sprite yet, but all the rest of these ones, it's like the first thing I want to do is like, how do I actually, master this device and put my own kind of ideas into it. I want to be conscious of the clock, and half an hour in, and we haven't gotten to the main feature, I think.
I guess, yeah. I mean, don't even worry about it. It's fine.
This little guy. Oh, look at that. This is really cool. I've got a Mega Man reflecting in the screen of mine. That worked out kind of well.
This is the prototype I made. I did this one with OSH Park. Osh Park.
Nice. Yeah. You love Osh Park.
And this is the 3D printed case that I'm designed and made for it.
That's brilliant. All right. You want to tell us a little bit about where this one came from? And
so
stop at ArduBoy regular.
yeah. So the ArduBoy Mini is a little project that I kind of did as a joke or whatever, kind of in the vein of the original one, where I was just goofing around for myself. What preceded it was the ArduBoy Nano. The ArduBoy Nano was I was stealing the design, borrowing the design from Ben at Tiny Circuits. So you showed the little tiny whatever.
I got it. Hold on.
The little
The
keychain
thumb.
one. Yeah, the
The thumb.
thumby. Yeah, I lose it too. I have it in the
Don't
drawer
worry,
over there.
you just name one, I'll pull it out.
Yeah, exactly. So he showed me the prototype of that in like 2015, 16, I think. No, 15 maybe. Anyway, 15, 16, long time ago, and sat on it for like 5 or 6 years or something like that. And I was always like, I emailed him like 3 or 4 times over the years. Like every year I would email him and be like, hey, when are you going to launch that thing? Because I wanted to, like, if you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it. And they weren't doing it. And then like 5 years had passed and I'm like, screw it. Like, I'm not going to sell it, but I'm just going to do my own. Like, he can't stop me from just, it's my brain. Like, he didn't give me schematics and I didn't like get a, micrometer out or anything and measure anything. I just saw it for like 5 seconds. And so, so I just had fun. And so I made my own little version of it and I called it the ArduBoy Nano, and it got quite a bit of attention.
And this was all happening on Twitter, right? Like I remember just seeing like a tweet and then like
Twitter, and then it's all in the community too. I mean, community is like the best place to check all that stuff out. But yeah, the Twitter is usually the way I'll do something. I'll post something on Twitter and then I'll then take it over to the community and elaborate on what I'm doing.
I just remember seeing a series of tweets where it went from like, hey, I'm working on something funny to like, hey, this is a real thing now. It's on Kickstarter.
Yeah. Well, so I started with a little tiny Nano, and that kind of like got attention. And then a bunch of people, actually, I sold the circuit board and the solder paste stencil, and a list of the bill of materials and how to 3D print the case for that one. And that one was like the little thummy. And I sold actually, I don't know, a couple dozen of them. I was kind of surprised. And I sold it for like $5. So, or was it $1? I think I just sold it for $1 because then the shipping ended up covering it. Anyways. But then I wanted to like, that doesn't work. It doesn't actually work. And so I was like, it was inspired by other people in the community doing all their homemades. And that's what I touch on in the Kickstarter video, is that there's a whole section of our community forum with hundreds of people who have made their own little remixes, because it's all open source, which means all of the designs, for anybody who doesn't know or whatever, that all of the designs for how to make it are online. So if you want to learn how to make it, you can either buy the modules or you can buy the bare components, and I got instructions on how to build your own. And other people, I mean, you can go on, like, I think there's even one on Make somewhere that shows you how to make your own ArduBoy, and every other website that's out there's YouTube videos on how to make it. I mean, there's classrooms that have taught how to do this. So
that was one of the motivations for this, right?
So I wanted to kind of do my own version of that. And so it started during the pandemic. It was like a little pandemic project. So I actually started doing it in 2020, and then everybody wanted to buy that. I just put it on my community, and then everybody was like, oh, I want one. And then the chip shortage happened. And so the lead time, if I would have produced it, the lead time would have been over 1.5 years. And so I was like, I'm not going to sit on people's money for that long.
This is a great plug for the magazine, which has an article that I wrote in it about the chip shortage. But thank you.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's totally true. And it got hit. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that to be honest, if it wasn't for the fact that I was living at my mom's house during the pandemic, then I probably would have been in a big problem. But since I didn't have any cost of living at the time, it just flatlined for that amount of time. And so I was able to do the development on that kind of stuff. But then, so I couldn't produce it. But then I ended up getting a job at Hackster because I wasn't sure how long the chip shortage was going to last. And so I ended up working there as a community or the contest manager. Yeah. And we ran like the ArduBoy contest there, which was a way for people to have, make their own versions of that. Yeah. And own versions of the hardware. So in the same way, we do a game jam with the software. We did like a contest on Hackster with the hardware. Yeah. And then, basically the chip shortage started to like clear up, and I started to be like, maybe we can build this thing now. And so I started kind of like redesigning it a little bit. And then, so where you probably picked it up, where it started getting really fast was I got Autodesk, I got Fusion 360. And then I started being able to do renders like I could make the circuit board and then I could render the 3D components on it. And this was new to me. I mean, I always worked in Eagle, and like that's how Fusion, like they bought them a while ago or integrated them a while ago. And so that's what made it easy to like made it visual, and for me to make it possible to like put the components on the board and like share it with people in a way that's
just
like
posting like different ideas, like, hey, do you like this? Hey, do you like that? And people are able to just see it and be like, yeah, I like that one. And yeah.
And so the iteration period goes really fast, and people because people don't need to be able to read the schematic or read the board layout to understand what it's going to look like. Because of all that, because it got shared, actually PCBWay contacted me and was like, hey, if you like, are you making this? Do you want a sponsorship? And I was like, sounds good. Yeah. So I ended up talking to them, and they were really hyped about it. And they are basically like sponsoring the prototypes and helping sponsoring the production. Their logos on our Kickstarter, and then it's going to be on the packaging.
A logo on here. They didn't make you put it on.
No, we're not putting on the project. We're going to put it on the packagking though. So their logo is going to be on the sticker or whatever that comes in. It's probably just going to be like a little Ziploc baggie or whatever, a static free bag. But yeah, so PCBWay, and then it was PCBWay contact me at the same time that it was getting a lot of attention online, and then also we ran that game jam on we ran a software game jam on our community website, and the prize was the Mini, and the people who won that were bugging me to get their prize. And so I was like, all these things are telling me I should make this thing and do it. And so, that happened 3 or 4 months ago, like that, all that stuff happened together. And then I started working on a Kickstarter, and it took forever to like film the video and get the prototype just the ready way, picture perfect. I wanted it and everything.
And this is your third Kickstarter?
Third Kickstarter.
The first one was original OG. Oops. OG
that one. That one. Then we did the special edition. The special edition. So that was the ArduVenture. It was a black. Have you seen it's black with gold buttons?
And it had the ARG stuff built in or something?
It had the ArduVenture, the RPG that they did.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, that one.
The original one, if you wanted to play a different game, you had to reflash it, right?
Right. Yeah. So I guess that goes worth saying. Oh, I don't know, a mod chip handy. But yeah, so the original ArduBoy was just basically an Arduino Leonardo with an OLED display.
Yeah.
Then
it had to be kind of like a maker person to really use it. Like this one, you just get this off the shelf at the store.
And it plays exactly. And it just plays a game you're familiar with.
Like, you don't have to know what's happening inside, but you do have to sort of know enough to plug it into a computer and, flash new games to it and stuff. Yeah.
So it's like another thing that happened during the pandemic. So I was like doing all this remixing with the stuff, and I ended up with a Mini. But actually parallel to that was, see, it's like I'm forgetting all these things happen so fast, and time warp of the pandemic, man. It's real. The developer Mr. Blinky created his own mod chip. He created a flash cart. He called it a flash cart. So he took the expanded memory chip and he 3D printed a new back for the ArduBoy where you could have header pins, and then had like a little backpack where you could plug in from the top that had the memory. And then he wrote, the key was he wrote a bootloader that allowed it to, before it's even into the application space. So it's less than 2.5K. He's been trying forever to keep it under 2K just for arbitrary sake. I think it just inched over into like 2.1 recently or something like that. But he'll probably correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, so the key is it goes to the external memory, and it reads there, and was like, hey, it looks for an index on the external memory, and then it reads all the games, and it can pull the images and display the images. So the menu of the ArduBoy FX, so when you install the mod chip, all that stuff is happening in the bootloader. And so he wrote that, and I was like, this is awesome. We should make this official. So I, around the same time, Osh Park had released their flexible circuit service.
Yeah.
And that was kind of huge because that was new, and that was always like expensive to do. And since it became cheap, it was very easy for me to prototype that way. And so I made a little flex circuit and put it in the back so you can unscrew the back of the ArduBoy. And luckily I'd put all the test points that are required. So yeah, you solder in this little thing, you solder in a little extra memory thing, and bing, bang, boom, you got yourself 200 plus games. And the cool thing about it is that, yeah, like you mentioned, you don't need to have a PC anymore. You can just boot it up, and then it automatically reflashes the bootloader, and so you don't even need a PC to do the upgrade. And that was so successful that I had to basically bake it into the next version of the product or whatever. Like I was like, okay, because I had several hundred ArduBoys left over, and I offered a service where I would pre-mod them. So for like $10 more plus the mod chip or whatever, you don't have to even solder it. Like I'll solder it for you. And then I did that, and it sold out in like a week or something like that of the 300. And I'm like, I was planning on doing like a few a week or something like that, and like being able to physically do this. But now even just with the 300 orders, like it'll take me a month or two to get through this. So like, so then I put a order in with Seed Studio to actually put it on the board and produce it. And then, yeah, several, like a couple thousand orders came in, and then Seed wanted to produce a bunch. So that's the ArduBoy FX.
Well, I was unscrewing mine while you were talking.
Oh, wow. You took it apart, man. You got, yeah.
But then all the buttons fell out. So I'll have to go find my buttons later.
No. Yeah. You got to be careful about that.
Yeah. So this is the mod right here that we're talking about. That little black, the little black circle there, and the little chip on there.
That's right.
Little bodge wires. That's the mod that lets you go from one hard-coded game to, however many hundreds.
You didn't have to sacrifice your buttons, man. If you can't find them, let me know. I'll send you some new ones.
They're here somewhere. It'd be a good
Yeah, man. That's really fun to be able to have a product and then to release a new one and to allow customers to you save, by having the ability to solder and use a screwdriver, you save like $20-$30 or whatever, maybe a bit more if you got it when it was really cheap. Because I think I sold them for $9 at some point.
Going back to this little guy, this already has that built in, right?
Exactly. And so that's why I launched the ArduBoy Mini, was because it has all the games. Well, originally I did the Mini and didn't have the mod chip on it. And it was just the smallest version of the ArduBoy. And then Mr. Blinky came out with this, and then I did the FX, and so then I added the mod chip. But yeah, so the ArduBoy Mini. I'll approach it from the angle about the mod chip. Oh, you got something?
I was just saying the ArduBoy Mini available on Kickstarter.
Yeah, available on Kickstarter. Give it a plug. Yeah, go to Kickstarter and search for ArduBoy Mini. You can get it. There's less than 20 hours left, and $29 for the white one. Or you can $34 for the graffiti edition, which has all the graffiti of all the developers on it.
Oh, that's awesome. Who is that? So I was talking about the audience for the other platforms, the commercial one that just comes in a blister pack, and the other one that until the FX required. But this one is, I would say, more of a maker product still, right? Because at least with my one, it ships with no speaker, no battery, right? Like this is how you're using it out of the box. Well, there's actually been a bit of an upgrade. So there's no battery, but we added a speaker. So there was a stretch goal at 50K to add a little piezo speaker. But yeah, there's no case and there's no battery now, and is the biggest difference. But you're right about being the maker community, because the same way like the mod chip and the FX was like a reaction to what has happened in the community. The commercial reason to producing the Mini, other than it just being a fun product that I made that somebody wanted, the intention for it, and like you hit the nail on the head, is it's meant for like move you more into that area of somebody who's like looking for something to code, looking for something to mess with. And that happens the most often in schools or in education environments. And so I've had a number of times where teachers reach out and be like, hey, I'd like to get 5 or 10 or 20, whatever, ArduBoys, and they're either out of stock, or I can't give them a good enough discount that it makes sense for them. Or
it's difficult to do with small batches.
Yeah.
And then the idea is this offers the same experience, but I don't have to spin up an injection molding process. Any board house, theoretically, I mean, PCBWay is making these, and they'll be able to do a great job, whether I'm ordering 10 or ordering, in this case, it looks like it's going to be like 2,000 or maybe even more.
And the lack of case and things like that means now it's a 3D printing project too.
Yeah.
And like just more opportunities to learn and experiment.
I mean, there's a few ways looking at it, is that, yeah, that's definitely one of the ways that we're encouraging people to design their own 3D printing case or whatever. We're looking at offering, actually, there's been enough interest that, I mean, they do 3D printing at PCBWay too. So we're looking at doing an add-on for after the Kickstarter, being able to come to our website and buy for like $5, and we'll include it in your shipping to put like a case that we've already designed that will ship with it. But also all the soldering pads. So you just had to unscrew the ArduBoy case in order to get at the things that you had to solder. And so the idea is we've removed that, and you lost the buttons, man. They're gone, right? And so this thing, you don't have any problem with that, right? It's shipping in that format, right? And so in a school environment where they may actually want to do that soldering, or they may actually want to get their hands on the actual circuit boards and be like, hey, you don't need to worry about it. Like, the circuit board isn't scary or whatever. I mean, it's a little like floofy to say that. I mean, it is at the end of the day just a piece of circuit board art, but these are kind of like the commercial perspectives, the retail perspectives in which it's kind of intended to be viewed. So
if we want to cap it an hour, we've got 9 minutes left.
Sure.
I was playing with the Mini last night just to make sure I was familiar with it and knew how it differed from the original, and there was a bunch of stuff on here I hadn't seen before. I don't know if it's stuff that's on the FX. I just haven't been in the loop.
Yeah, this is right now. This is the same image that is on the FX.
Well, I had never seen this. I thought maybe, come on, I'd never seen this. It's not going to work. There's
which game is it?
It's under tools. There is a little emulated desktop environment.
Oh yeah, the OS.
And you can really. Oh, this is really sad. Everything else was working well on my camera, but this isn't coming through at all.
Let me see if I can get it going.
It's got a keyboard. It's got a notepad app that you can type into.
It's got like a temperature meter in there that actually works. I don't know. Yeah. And then it has like a voltage meter.
Yeah. Hey, it's working much better for you. Excellent.
It's about as close as I could get it because I can't get it like right in the. But anyways, people can check it out. It's
not all games. There's other crazy stuff on here.
There's an egg timer. It was hilarious. I got a biggest kick out of it. There was somebody who was going through all the ArduBoy games on the FX, and he doesn't even like really look at the title. He's like just clicking through them, and he goes on to one, and it's labeled egg timer, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's just egg something. But he's like figuring out it's an egg timer as he's using it. He's like, okay, hard, soft, medium. Wait, what am I doing? And then it starts counting down. He's like, is this just an egg timer? And I'm like, yeah, dude, it's just an egg timer. And so, it's great. And okay, so another thing that I should mention, the ArduBoy Mini is going to have that's totally new and is inspired by classrooms, is somebody emailed or messaged me on Twitter and was like, putting a I2C port, I2C port, the quick connector. And that was like a huge duh moment for me, because I was even thinking about doing some video examples where I would solder to the I2C port to do like some sensors or things like that. And so, so now it's going to ship at the top. I posted, it's on the Kickstarter, you can see it, but at the top here, there's going to be a port where they'll be able to plug in a connector, and you can do really anything. You can add like a, gyroscope, real-time clock, Wi-Fi. I mean, you can really, the sky's the limit. Anything that can communicate over I2C, you'll be able to control. And I think that'll be great for classrooms because, it turns it into like, actually, it's basically like the Adafruit Feather with buttons and a display at that point.
Just having inputs and a display is such a huge thing. And
it won't have the through hole connectors, and so on the back it'll just have test pads. But I'm doing it on the edge of the board, so it's going to be arranged. So I don't have any here, but you'll be able to take like a female or male header pins, and then like place them on the edge, and then just solder them like that, so they'll deal like wings sticking out the edge. And so then you could just have them plug in wires to the edge if you're like doing that a lot of the time.
It reminds. I had another prop that was just a little too far out of reach, which was the what's that thing called? The pocket. I can't remember what it's called.
Pocket chip. Pocket chip.
Had that connectors across the top kind of thing.
Yeah, man. Pocket chip is a funny story too. I went to the hacks program with the guys from Pocket Chip. We also went to the same program. They sort of tried to buy ArduBoy, like they wanted to join forces. Basically, they wanted me to come work on the Pocket Chip. They hadn't released Pocket Chip, hadn't told me about it. They're like, hey, come over here. And I thought about it, and kind of part of me wanted to do it, but I had so much of a thing going already, so much of it from the internet already that and I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because they're ArduBoy's still here. Next Thing company is
we're on the third generation of this, and my Pocket Sprite hasn't got any updates in a good long while there. But I was thinking like one of my favorite apps, and I was like, oh yes, this music one is cool. And then I'm like, oh wait, I don't have a speaker, and the speaker on my disassembled unit is disassembled. Yeah,
so the Mini is going to have a speaker, it's going to have a battery connector. The battery connector is going to be what is used in micro drones. So it's like a 1.25 millimeter
JST style
Molex. No, it's a Molex connector. So it's smaller than the JST. So there's going to be a lot of customer support. I bought a battery, it doesn't fit. You have to get this one. You get the smaller one. But like micro drones have it, or like little like mini remote controls things have it. But we mentioned earlier the micro arcade, right? Yep. And we talked about in the beginning, like using the shell of the Game Boy Advance. So this is the shell of the micro arcade, but it's running the Raspberry Pi Pico. So this mod and this mod are the same, but with a different display. Yeah. But the button, like the GPIO for the buttons are the same. So theoretically, use a library, and then you flag, oh, I'm using this screen or this screen.
Display it is, yeah.
And so the idea here is that if you have one of the micro arcades and you're not using it, you can just buy the circuit board and you reuse the screen, you reuse the battery and all the buttons, and then you just replace the PCB. And I'm trying to make it so you buy just the PCB for like under $10, like maybe $10 for the PCB. And I think a lot of people got these things for real cheap. And I'm trying to work with Super Impulse, like, and make it an official product. So if they're out there and are listening, or somebody who can, Raspberry Pi can help. I talked to Eben. I pitched to Eben, and I pitched to the guy making Super Impulse.
Nice.
Let's do this. Let's make this official. And I want to call it the Raspberry Micro Arcade.
Okay.
And so the idea is you buy it comes in a packaging the same kind of way as the other one, retail packaging, but it's all advertised with like Raspberry Pi official or licensed branding. You know, their colors, and they're white and they're pink or whatever, or the raspberry color. And and then your emphasis is it comes with, you know, a game or multiple games already on it, but then you can plug it in and you can get all the more. So same as ArduBoy, but there's no reason why that couldn't be retailed for like $25 or something like that, and then get that into stores instead of like the $50-$60 price I have to charge for the ArduBoy, because this uses such cheaper components.
Any chance of when you say Raspberry Pi, the first thing that popped into my head is would you be able to support Circuit Python or MicroPython or, you know, Raspberry Pi to me is like, you know, not just C, you want to do some Python as well as that.
That's what's great. Yeah, that is what's great about this, is that anything that runs on the Raspberry Pi Pico, which is like Python's there. I actually use Arduino and C++ because that's what's familiar to me. But yeah, you can run MicroPython and everything else that the Pico can on here. And that's great for schools, because I know schools are going forward with the Python. So I guess we're kind of getting towards the end here. That sum it up, the reason why I did the ArduBoy Mini, which you can available on Kickstarter right now for $29, is to make it more accessible. And that's why I'm working on all these other projects, is to try to make the community for open source gaming not exclusive to the ArduBoy as a specific piece of hardware, is to make it a concept, make it a collection of inputs, outputs, and a language that you use to make games easily with. And so it doesn't matter whether you want to, you know, use a Playdate clone or use the Micro Arcade, or use Pico 8, or use the ArduBoy emulator and never even touch the hardware. All that stuff I don't have the answer yet, but I'm working on it. Is how to make that as confluent and cross pollination and open as possible.
And I'm sure people are, very excited about everything they've heard. And, the best place for them to continue this excitement is at arduboy.com and then click on forums or something, or where should people
yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at batesky.com, and then you can go to arduboy.com for all your general ArduBoy needs. Everything in the community is that's the best place. Like if you really love the ArduBoy and really want to not only be updated from me but other people's production, and things they're working on, new games, community.arduboy.com. And then of course don't forget to go to Make and check out all the latest stories and cool things that you can open source projects online.
I love that we're plugging each other so well. This is the current magazine. There's our annual boards guide pull out as well in this one, and it's on newsstands right now. And if you want, we also have we're also kind of pushing our Discord at the moment. We're trying to figure out, as Twitter becomes a bit strange, where we want to kind of focus. And so we've been trying to get our Discord community going. And there's a shortcut. If you go to makezine.com/go/discord, or just go to makezine.com and click the icon is probably easiest. We try to hang out over there. If you have any questions about any of the hundreds of different devices I've shown off today and stuff, then you can ask me about it there. And I'll try and get Kevin to come over there too and chat with us sometime. But this is really cool. Good luck with the Kickstarter. It's definitely happening, right? It's way blown past the goal and stuff, right?
It's incredible. It's all because of everybody, the community and the audience and all the work that they put into it, stuff like that. Again, it's at the end of the day, it's just a neat little circuit board, but I'm happy to be the conduit through which everybody gets to share their games.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for trying this little experiment. I'm glad it came together as well as I feel like it did. This was awesome.
Oh, thanks, Dave. No, thank you so much, Dave, and thanks for reaching out. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
All right.
Talk to you again soon.